Thanks for joining us here at the Kill Cliff Podcast with your hosts, John and Josh from Entrepreneurs Comedy. Hey, John, what do we got going on today?
Today, we're really excited. We have Jake McLaughlin. If you guys are fans of the show Quantico or of Believe, you know Jake's name. Jake's a former Army vet, went on to do big things and continuing to do big things on the big screen and the little screen. He's going to come on and we're going to talk and we're going to get out some funny stories and talk about some of the shenanigans from when he was on the initial invasion in Iraq through his time in the Army and then on into Hollywood.
Let's do it.
My wives are never going to listen to this.
Cracked him with strawberry milk.
How do I smoke this stuff?
Good luck to me.
Let the boy watch.
Cue the uncomfortable laughter.
There's no one listening.
This show's doomed to die, too.
It's like every 80s rock video.
Making people laugh. Gets the juices flowing. It's going to go great. Thank you.
We have 0 listeners.
Yeah, entrepreneurs.
All right. Hey, Jake, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, we are excited to have you on because you have such a unique journey coming from the military, coming from the Army, and then finding yourself now in the acting world. So before we even get into sort of how you've gotten acting, you were in the Army, 2002 you enlisted, is that right?
I signed up in 01. I went down the day after September 11th and signed up, but everyone was signing up at that time. So they couldn't process that many people in through the MEP station, all that. So I got put on what they called a delayed entry program.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that means you sign up, you do all your stuff, you go down to MEPS, you breathalyze before you sign anything, you do all the physicals and everything. And then once they have the slot open for you, then you get to go in. So I signed up September 12th. I went down to the recruiting station September 12th. And then I actually went into basic right after Christmas. So like January 2nd of 2002.
And
because,
what were you doing at this point? Like, were you like in college, or what were you doing at this point?
No, at that time I was a security guard at Universal Studios in Hollywood. It was actually a pretty cool job. It was, and then after September 11th, because I continued to work there after that, the security and everything just like it got beefed up to a whole nother level. They started putting in these fences and these gates and everything all around with these spikes on the top, and had welders there working around the clock. And then they beefed up our security there by like, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 fold just to go around. So it was like I was working 16-hour shifts pretty much every day until I stopped working there, because I took about, I don't know, a month off before I actually went off to basic.
Now,
So you were actually you were like the Paul Blart of Universal Studios.
Yeah. I wish I had a segue.
right.
Yeah.
It was a cool job though, because I got to meet a lot of celebrities. I got to go on an Aerosmith. They were shooting a music video there. I got to see them once. I met Corey Haim. I escorted him one time. That was pretty funny. And then the funny one was
for our younger viewers or younger listeners, he was an actor in the 80s who was big for our generation.
Oh yeah, he was in Lost Boys, License to Drive. I mean, you name it. He was the man. The Corys.
Bunch of millennials are on their phone right now Googling Corey Haim.
Who's Corey Feldman? Corey Feldman. The one funny thing too was I got one of the jobs that I had. You get put on these special events because it's all up at Universal. So there's always some sort of special event going on or movie premiere or something. So you'll come in and do those. And those are the funnest things to do. And one of the jobs I had was the Teen Choice Awards, and I want maybe it was 2001 or 2000, I can't remember, but it was the first time I ever was on camera for anything, and it wasn't supposed to be, because I had to be right there where the people were all the celebrities were getting out of their limousines,
Yeah.
and there was all these cameramen everywhere. It was at the House of Blues amphitheater up there in the back lot, and I think it was right around the time when Ben Affleck was having like an alcohol issue. You know, he'd just gone and checked himself into AA or something. So all these journalists like, oh my God, this guy's, you know, let's get all these cameras on him all the time. And there's this one cameraman that was just being, you know, overly, I don't know, zealous with how much he was filming him. And I happened to be standing right next to Ben Affleck, but kind of behind him. And I was glaring over at the cameraman, just kind of giving him a look like, you know, why don't you fucking back off, dude? And be a douchebag about shit. And so but the thing was, the sun was right in my eyes while I'm sitting there glaring at this cameraman. And then during the commercial break, because I recorded it because I wanted to see, like, you know, if we know what was going on, because they had to record it on the VHS tape. So I go home later and I watch it, and I ended up making it on there on right for the commercial break. It goes, up next, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, Gwen Stefani, Ben Affleck, and it shows the Ben Affleck that guy was filming, and it's me right behind him, and it totally looks like I'm want to kill Ben Affleck because the sun's in my eyes, and you just see me and then him, and it looks like I look like a stalker,
mean mugging him,
and some creep. It was pretty funny. It was good. I think that tape. I think my aunt or somebody down in LA has that tape floating around somewhere. It'd be funny to watch again, just to see 18-year-old me looking like a little
mean mugging Ben Affleck from behind.
Mean mugging Ben Affleck. Yeah.
You just knew he was going to make Geely at one day, and you're just angry out of him.
I was just it's what got me through the deployment. Geely was the one that
That's true.
Remember the rumor about Jennifer Lopez dying? Or that was the big rumor.
Oh yeah.
There was a huge rumor during the OIF one, because nobody got news. We didn't get any news, so anything that was said, it just spread like wildfire across everything. And I was like, J-Lo died, and we're like, oh what? No, we're all bummed out, and then you find out it's all a bunch of bullshit. There's all sorts of crap like that. But we had these things over there called they were VCDs. They were like bootlegged, videos, but you couldn't rewind or fast forward them. Once you started it, you had to watch it all the way through, and half the time you were watching something, the power would go out, and then you have to restart the whole movie. And we had 3 movies the whole time we were in Baghdad. We had three copies of we
heard a story about go ahead, I want to hear it, but we heard a story about
I'll tell you. We had that movie Entrapment with Catherine Zeta-Jones and Sean Connery. We had Top Gun, and we had Moulin Rouge.
We heard that Moulin Rouge was it just got played over. You guys were in a palace or something. You guys were in one of Saddam's palaces.
We took it we were in the presidential palace. We were in Uday's palace, and then we were also at the bath party houses, and that was where all those places that we were at. It went with us wherever we went. We brought the VCD player with us, but then so we watched it. So there's literally a platoon out there of infantrymen that can verbatim recite every single lyric to every song in Moulin Rouge. We'd sit there in a platoon watching Moulin Rouge, singing every song. We sing it at the reunions. Every time we have the reunion, we're out there. Everyone that's there, and nobody's forgotten a damn word of it. We watch it so many times. I've probably seen the movie 60, 70 times at least. It was it was quite the sight, I can tell you that. It was pretty good. Yeah.
And you were deployed, so you went over and you were 11 Bravo. You were an infantryman.
Yeah, infantry.
And you went over in you were over there early, right?
Yeah, we were there for the invasion. We were in Kuwait for about 3 months before we deployed over to over into Iraq, and they staged us on the berm for about a month before because we kind of knew at that point war was inevitable. So they just took us out of the cabal there, and we were at Camp New York, and then they put us out in the desert. So we legitimately didn't and it took us weeks to get into Baghdad. So we didn't even have a shower until well after we had pretty much taken control of Baghdad, for a month before we even crossed the berm, and then another month till we got out. We were pretty a ripe bunch,
Oh yeah, and you guys, so you went across the border as part of the initial invasion.
Yeah, we were the first. We were the first ones to cross the berm. Yeah, we had David Bloom was our reporter that was embedded with 315. So he was with our unit with us when he passed away. He was in an 88, and he had an aneurysm in his leg because
Right.
and it came as a big surprise to us. And like I've said in an interview before, I think it was when I did The View, that he was a huge help to all of us, because we had these things called DSN phones over there, and basically it's a military phone that was in a tent, and there's only like 3 for an entire battalion, and so you kind of had to go in the middle of the night if you wanted to do anything right, if you wanted to even get a chance, and you had to call back to the States, to a base in the States that could connect you to a base that was closest to your house, and then they could connect you through some weird system that they had. I don't know how it worked, and nobody ever got through, so it didn't really matter anyway. And David Bloom had that F-450 satellite truck with the big satellite on it for his, because they had all the high tech equipment at the time, and they actually hooked up landlines to like probably 6 or so phones into that, and allowed us to go to call home when we could. It wasn't very often, but it was still a huge help. And then of course some dude fucks it up and goes and tries to wake David up out of his tent when it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, hey, the satellite phone's not working. So then you know what happens after that. Yeah. Guess what? No one's using the satellite phone now. We had a whole, battalion formation, to tell everyone that they're fucked on the phones now because, some jackass went and woke up David Bloom.
And that's such a military thing. I think that I don't know if people in the civilian sector get it. Like, and it's funny. I still do that with my kids today. Like, I'm like, oh, you know what? One of you messed up. You're all fucked now. Nobody's getting to use the mom's iPad now, and they don't get that. Like, and you see here in that civilian sector, right? People don't get that. Like, oh, one of you fucked it up. Oh, guess what? Everybody's gonna pay the man now.
Yep. I do the same thing with them for ratting on each other. I'm always like, you don't come to me ratting on your brother or your sister. You don't come to me with that crap. You guys figure that shit out because I'm not. Yeah, right. You're both going to get screwed if you come to me with it, if you're ratting on each other. Unless it's like some life-threatening thing. But if it's some bullshit, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, my kid's getting more in trouble for ratting than the one whoever did anything wrong.
Oh, yeah. We used to take turns, my sister and I, taking the blame for things because if one of us tattled, the other, whoever did the tattling got in more trouble, got their ass spanked for being the snitch. For being the snitch.
Yeah, you don't know if you're a kid of a military person or the mafia at that point. Like, like what are you doing, rat?
I give you everything. Right. But
so you're over there. You go over. You're a part of the initial invasion. Are you guys literally like hoofing it across the border? You guys?
No, I was mechanized. So I was in the back. I was a dismount infantry. I was a saw gunner. So what that is you have infantry guys that are trained to drive the Bradleys. You guys know this. So be the gunner, and then there's the driver, and then there's the Bradley commander. So he's in charge of that, and then you got the guys in the back. When the ramp drops, we get out, clear buildings. We did a lot more walking. We were almost never in the back of the Bradleys once we got into Baghdad and Fallujah and Karbala and all those places. We weren't in the back of the Bradley too much. It was just mainly to get up there. But then after that, all the patrols and stuff we did was everything a light infantry unit would do. We weren't really driving around much. But yeah, so we crossed the berm and pushed our way up. We hit that sandstorm on the way up, that 100-year sandstorm.
Oh, that big wall. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was insane. And then
you're still getting sand out of your teeth and your ears and everything.
Oh, it's incredible what sand can get into. Like it's that fine. Like we had another bad sandstorm when we were staging on the berm during that period, and we're covered up completely in our 3-piece sleeping bags, just covered up inside of a tent. And you wake up and your whole inside of your sleeping bag would be covered in sand. You'd be sleeping on a bed of sand, and you're like, how does it get in here? And then they came out with those ESS goggles for us because they didn't fog up as much, but because they had ventilation in the side. But that sand would get in there too and blow in your eye, and it was just, and you couldn't even see. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face.
And people don't get that it's a fine silty like sand. It's not like your beach sand here in the East Coast or something. It's like
it's talcum powder. It's like walking through brown talcum powder is what it's like. It almost feels like walking through water a lot of the times. It's insane. And so that kind of fucked us though, because I think a lot of the satellite and air, recon aircraft that was going through had a hard time penetrating through that sandstorm. Not to mention just us not being able to see shit going around because we'd have to stop. That convoy was incredible. That convoy we went up in was during the Thunder Run was miles long. Yeah. It was a
sight to behold, right?
What now?
A sight to behold. Watching that whole thing. It was
definitely a sight to behold. It was cool. You're driving. You're going up there in the Bradley, and the funny thing was, you'd think that being in the back of a Bradley for 16 hours straight or whatever, that you'd be pissing yourself. But we had so little water, and your body just absorbs it. I don't remember ever having to piss the whole way up there. It was weird. It was a crazy thing. And then we ran out of we were way ahead of the supply lines, so we ran out of food. We ran out of water. We got rationed down to 1 MRE a day and one of those bigger bottles of water like that to share between 2 or 3 guys. And then we eventually, when we crossed the Euphrates River, we saved all those bottles and we were filling them up in the Euphrates River, which is really sanitary.
Yeah.
And then they were giving us those doxycycline pills for the malaria, but they killed your stomach, and we didn't have enough food in our stomach or anything to really. So a bunch of dudes were getting sick from taking those pills to prevent malaria. But it's like, I don't know what's worse, malaria or the fucking doxycycline on an empty stomach. So a lot of people stopped taking it.
Jake,
I'm sure malaria is a lot worse. But
the way you're describing it, it makes me feel like you're not that appreciative of the E3 salary that you were getting to endure all that.
Dude, that's danger pay, man.
That's danger.
Yeah.
And you got family separation pay. I don't feel like you're that appreciative of the $300.
I shouldn't bite the hand that fed me, right?
Yeah. You're not really appreciative of the full $300 you got after taxes every 2 weeks.
I came back with a little over $16,000 in my bank account after a year-long deployment. That's what I had left in my bank account.
And what people don't realize, right? And what people don't realize is that it's not like because you spent the rest. Like that's what you're getting, because you're not spending money on anything. There's nothing to spend smokes and DVDs or right. That's about it. There's nothing to spend money on.
You know, like buying cigarettes, like in Iraq, we had so much Iraqi dinar that we just buy shit with that. And then eventually they got the hint that that wasn't going to be much of a currency in the future. So they wanted American dollars. So they had a little thing set up where once a month we could go pull out like $500. Up to $500 a month from this little mock bank that they had there that somehow connected to your bank. I have no idea how that banking system over there that we had over there worked, but it was. I'm still kind of dumbfounded that we were even able to get mail. I don't even know how they did that. That's a major feat in itself, because we were constantly on the move, and then all of a sudden you got a package,
You get mail, but you're still sharing one bottle of water with 3 people. I think his priority is...
Guys, it's okay. We got the mail.
Yeah. I got a postcard from Meemaw. Meanwhile, I'm dehydrated.
And if they could get Meemaws...
Here's some dehydrated milk. Good luck at finding the water to put in it.
Right.
You're like, somehow somebody hasn't thought to use the system that they got the USO package here with to also get water here.
Right. Now,
it was
when
crazy.
you're...
One of these times, this dude, my Bradley commander, his name was Sergeant Snell. He was a good dude, but it was a weird thing that we did on the way up there. We went off a blackout drive, and for those of the people that don't know, blackout drives where you don't have your lights on the Bradley, you're using these blackout lights where you can it gives you light, but only if you're wearing night vision your nods, your vision goggles to the civilian world. So you're wearing your night vision goggles and you're looking out from the Bradley as the driver, and you're down here with the hatch open with blackout on and drive. That'd be the more tactical way to do it. But instead we opted for Fast and Furious kind of blitzkrieg tactic, and they went full on lights but with the hatch open. And then I was one of the only guys that was certified as well to drive the Bradley, because I'd gone through all those driving schools, which is one of those things you just don't tell people you have, because then you're going to get volunteered to do all this shit, the extra shit that you don't want to do. And so our driver Gammons, he had been driving for like 16 hours straight, and then they knew that I had I could drive the Bradley, so I got in there, and I'd only driven the Bradley one time before that, when I was training for it. And so I'm driving, and I got him yelling at me through the CVC helmet, cussing me out, and I'm burning up, sweaty, and I'm just covered with an inch of dust, and the sweat and dust just molded onto me, and I'm just burning up inside of there and hot, and everyone else is sleeping in the back. And so I just start stripping my clothes off, because I'm just like, fuck this, I'm taking this off, I'm taking my RBA off, I'm taking it all off. So, and I wasn't even really paying attention to that because I couldn't see a damn thing. So I'm just going.
Not how I envisioned going into war.
Well, yeah, this is on the way up to war. Yeah, real smart idea. I'm just wearing a CBC helmet,
but in your head, that's not how you envision going to war. You've actually like perfectly tacked out, but not like covered in mud, half naked. Just miserable, right?
Exactly. Luckily, we didn't get into a firefight at that point, because I would have talk about a new shock and awe technique, huh?
Yeah, right.
Have a bunch of dudes popping out, and I was literally in my underwear with some socks and boots on, and I could have gotten in trouble for that already. And so he's cussing me out, because then we go to blackout drive, and I can't see shit. Because the dust is so heavy in your face. You got a line of Bradleys, tanks, 88s, APCs, all that shit in front of you and behind you, and it's just nothing but a huge dust cloud in front of you. You couldn't see anything. But he's up a little higher, because he's the Bradley commander, so he's up in the top of the turret, so you can see above all that. But meanwhile, I'm just getting fucking slammed with all this shit. He's like, turn left, Mac, turn left. turn left, Mac. And I'm going, okay, I'm turning left. Dude, I'm fucking straighten out. Fucking straight. What are you doing? What the fuck? And I'm going, Jesus Christ, dude, I can't see shit. I'm cussing now. I can't fucking see anything. I'm going off of you. You got to tell me every little thing to do because I can't see where the fuck I'm going. Nobody could. And so this went on for 14 hours of him cussing me out, me cussing him out. But it was just like this whole thing because, it's not like he's going to stop and write me up for an Article 15, on the way up to Iraq. I wasn't banking on that. I was just, tensions were high. I could say, I'll put it that way. And
one of those all sins are forgiven at the end. You're like,
right.
I may have, sir, I know you outranked me. I may have said a few things that I didn't mean.
It totally was that. And so we stopped for the night and we always do, we do like a 360 security with all in a big circle. And then we get out and dig our hasty fighting positions. And then they say, oh, no, this isn't right. We should probably move 4 feet to the left and then dig a new hasty because that's better in the middle of the desert. It doesn't matter. And so we go into the circle, to do the 360 degree security deal. And I'm cussing him out, and he's cussing. It's like hit its peak. We're all, I'm fucking livid. He's fucking livid. I'm yelling at him through the driver's hatch. He's cussing down at me, and he goes, "Fucking turn left." So I start turning left, and I'm looking to see where I'm going, and I just keep going left, and I go in a big ass circle, and I don't hear anything else. And I start going again in another circle, and I look down, and I realize that when I turned left, my CVC helmet, which the communication between him and I, came unplugged. I just looked at it and I go, fuck. I almost didn't plug it in because I knew what was going to be on it.
You knew it was coming.
Like dead silence other than the Bradley moving, and then motherfucking goddamn motherfucker! I fucking told you, goddamn piece of shit, worst fucking driver I've ever seen, goddamn it. Starts going off. And I'm like, fuck it. He's like, get out, I'm fucking driving. I'm like, y'all get the fuck out, I'll get out. It's like, fucking rip it off, and I get out and I walk onto the the hood or whatever all this shit is on the front.
Wait, are you still half naked at this point?
That's what I totally forgot that I was even like that because I'd been like that for so long. So I get out and he's like, you're the worst fucking. He's on the top of the turret and I'm on the fucking hood of the Bradley cussing him out. You're the worst fucking driver I've ever seen. Well, you're the worst BC I've ever fucking seen. Ray Charles could BC better than you motherfucker. And I'm going off on him and he's like, yeah, well you mother. And he just looks at me, what the fuck are you wearing? I just started going off of him. I'm like, and I totally forgot. I was totally like, there was nothing I could say. I'm like,
you got me.
I'm screwed. I'm done. Yeah. All right, I concede. I'll get back in the hatch and go get my shit, and you can park this fucking thing. And so that's basically what ended up happening. It was a pretty funny moment, and we were so dehydrated that it was insane because you don't realize, you watch movies on people being dehydrated, you hear the stories and stuff, but until it actually happens to you when you're really that dehydrated, dude, it's a whole nother ball game. It's like you just don't think clearly. You're so shaky and weak that you're just anything, you're about to just pass out at any time, and you're like, okay, I'm okay with dying. That's it's okay.
I didn't think this is how it'd be, but.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd go like this. Not right.
We were talking before we came on. We were talking to three of us about that military style sense of humor, and I think for other people listening, there's a lot in this audience who listening and are nodding their heads because they get it, right? Because and yet for everybody who's gotten out or who's never been in, and you recognize that difference on the outside world, where you're like, yeah, so for 14 hours, my boss and I. We're yelling, motherfucker, go fuck yourself, you cocksucker piece of shit. And then I got out and I was in my underwear. Yeah, I was caked in dust and sweat. And I got out and in just my skivvies and my boots. And we continued to yell at each other until he realized what I was wearing. And then we continued with the mission.
Yeah, and that wasn't that crazy. Yeah. Like that. That's just kind of the way.
That's like Tuesday.
That was Tuesday. Yeah. Oh, by the way, we spent another 6 months of fighting the war together, just like that.
Oh, and he's one of my best friends.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we. I mean, it's just, and like we were saying, we were talking earlier before we went on air about how like in the military you have to be able to dish it out and take it because there's nothing off limits, and you get so used to that you cross that line of, and there's
nothing sacred.
No, nothing's sacred, right?
Yeah. There's just no line, nothing's safe. None of your family members are safe. Nothing. Like you'll exploit any little. If you sent blood, a little drop of blood in the water, you're gonna shark the shit out of them, and they
Right.
and once you go across that, there's not, like I said, there's no going back. Like, it's just, you have this morbid, funny sense of humor that the civilian world is just like, you guys are sick, really.
Yeah.
You guys are kind of, I don't get it, whatever.
Yeah.
And
like,
that's in a nice environment, right? You get a nice care package from your mom. You're like, oh, I got to care for my mom. You're like, oh, how's that whore doing?
Yeah, right.
Like, guys,
Yeah,
like,
you
I'm
better
just
not
kidding.
mention that you have a sister
Yeah,
or a
yeah, right.
wife or a mother.
and that's in like a non-combat zone. When you get into combat zones, it's just like, yeah, it's just there's a catharsis with finding that morbid humor, right? That macabre humor.
It goes, and the nicknames you got to remember. I remember in basic, we had this one dude in basic, and we gave him the nickname Poop Dick. And none of us even knew his actual name. Like, he was just Poop Dick. And so I felt kind of bad for him, because when the families go out to watch the basic training graduation, and his mom and dad are there, they're all proud of their son. He just kind of empathy basic training, and everyone's going, all right, hey, Poop Dick, good luck, Poop Dick. Really, you come into basic, you're a badass coming out of basic infantryman, and that's the nomenclature you got. What'd you doing there?
Yeah, it's just deflating.
Yeah, there's no way of explaining that and coming out sounding okay.
You can't explain that
No,
one
it's
away,
just a nickname.
Mom. Yeah.
No, especially nowadays. Like, even professional comedians are having the hardest. They don't, like, half of them won't even go on college campuses anymore. Like, there's like, it's comedy. It's, anything can be funny if it's done the right way. Anything, literally anything.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
You can't get up and tell the Poop Dick story on a college campus. Anybody laughs.
Oh God, no. You'd be blacklisted, and there'd be protesters out front before you even arrive there to deter you from doing your job and making people laugh. It's like, it's kind of a sad thing, really, in all honesty. But it's a big hurdle for comedians, and I think that it's slowly getting away from that now. I think people are
I think you're right.
and kind of just, I'm done with that. I want to hear some funny shit.
Right, the pendulum's swinging back a little bit now, where they start to go, all right, well, maybe we're missing something by refusing to hear that kind of comedy.
Well, that's strange for you, because I mean, you're not that you're in comedy, but you're in an industry that's super sensitive. I imagine you're spending a lot of time in LA. So no, all right, correct me.
Hardly ever.
Really?
No, not anymore. I used to. Not a ton of things. Some things are starting to move back into LA to film, but California doesn't offer the tax incentives, so they do they do a lottery thing where, like, I don't know, I'm throwing it up there, 100 movies and shows a year get selected, and it is very random. I think Schwarzenegger put that into effect, or I believe, and it doesn't matter if it's a C movie, whatever, that's in the running too, just as much as a big budget, Michael Bay or Michael Mann movie or Spielberg movie. It's all even playing field there. But there's other states that just offer way more tax incentives to film there. So that's why a lot of things shoot out of state. So Hollywood's, they really need to get their act together, to be honest with you, about getting more of the industry back there, because I mean, it belongs there as far as I'm concerned. And but no, I don't go there very often. But as far as, like, I am who I am, and I don't pander to anybody, Hollywood or not. So I just am who I am. I say what I want to say, and that's it. That's just me.
Hey, so talk to us a little bit about that transition. So I know so for those who are listening, so we Josh and I have a mutual friend with Jake, and John Doyle, great guy, had told us that he's
impregnated half the eastern seaboard, by the way. We have eight or nine kids.
Yeah, he drives a hotel shuttle to go to friggin' school. He's gonna hate it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, John.
Sorry, John.
Well, we just lost one listener.
Yeah.
Love you, Doyle.
Yeah. Right.
And so John was in your platoon, and we talked before we got on. You guys still have a reunion, right? And you guys get together once a year, and you try and the whole platoon tries to rally up, right? Or as you said, the whole company, right? It's open to the whole company, but
all are welcome, really. I mean, it's all family, friends. It doesn't matter what platoon you're in, or if you're in 315, you're welcome to come and bring your family, bring your kids. If you want to invite more people, just let everyone know, and then you can bring, they can bring, just so that they can accommodate, because a lot of times we rent out an entire, hotel apartment kind of place, bungalows and everything else, and just party for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, that kind of camaraderie that you maintain, that brotherhood that you build like through combat and stuff like that, right? It's something that you just can't put a price tag on, right? You can't.
No, you can't. And I would. People ask, like, would you do it over again and all that? So, everyone's been asked that question the other day. You bet your fucking ass I would. All day, every day, I'd do it over. I wish I could do it over again with that group of guys, because it was just, there's nothing like it. There's nothing in the world will ever. And that's kind of the weird thing too, is like that. I love what I do for a living now, especially when it's really good. It's really good. It's there's few things that are better than that, but like coming off that parade field. Coming back from Iraq, and they told us wear your nicest pair of DCUs. Wear your nicest, where you're like, what, the one that has the least amount of blood and rips in it and shit. And so you're like, okay, so you get out there and we're going to Fort Stewart, and we come up behind the bleachers where there's probably 2,500 people, family members and all the like, coming out there, and then we parked behind this row of small pine trees. Right, it's right there in the same field where the memorial, the trees are for all the soldiers from Fort Stewart that passed away in Iraq and Afghanistan. And they couldn't see us when the buses parked, and all of a sudden we come out in formation and we broke off into a wider formation, and we're walking towards these people, and the band's playing, and it's just like cameras going off. It felt like you were in the Olympics, and like just. You didn't really get a grasp of any like sense of accomplishment until, and like at least for me, in that moment, I absolutely felt it. My family wasn't there. I told them I'm going to be home on leave in 2 weeks, 3 weeks anyway. They didn't have they didn't have the money to come out there and do all that, because I was all the way over in California. But it just felt like it made you want to cry, because you felt you felt proud. You felt really proud, and it really kind of was one of those deals. And just getting on the plane, like I got to sit in the cockpit when we left New York with the private, the Delta airline.
No way.
Flight. Yeah, the pilot let us go because I volunteered for baggage detail, because I knew that they'd give us first class on the way back if we volunteered for baggage detail. So I'm up there eating ice cream and stuff, and then they let me go in the cockpit. But like just stopping in New York, they let us get out and smoke in the terminals. Like, but we couldn't go past the pillars, so it was like, don't feed the soldiers kind of thing. You couldn't do that. And it was a cool thing. It was just a really, really neat thing. And that, like, to look to the guy left and right of you when you're walking down there and doing that, looking at your buddies, and just kind of, it was, and just God, you watch those videos of, soldiers. I tear up every time I watch them. There's, soldiers coming home and surprising their kids after a deployment, or just coming home, and even when they know they're coming home. And imagine that with an entire battalion, of people coming home, and, however many thousand people coming and just rushing at you. And the general was great that gave the speech. He was just like, I know you guys are sick of all the safety briefings, all the speeches and stuff, so I'm going to keep this short. Family, go see your soldiers. Wow. Bam. And it was just over with. And it was a neat thing. It was cool. It was really neat. And it's just, but the point was that it's hard to top that.
Yeah. Sure.
Even in Hollywood and all that other stuff, it's one of those things that I don't think that will ever happen again. And so, it's a bummer, but God, I'd be damned if I wasn't fortunate to be able to have that experience.
Yeah,
it was good.
I mean, I got up pre 9/11, so I didn't see combat, but even the time I was in, I knew there were times where it wasn't fun, right? So maybe you're going, this kind of sucks. In retrospect, there were some of the best times of my entire life. And you don't realize it. I mean, I spent 2 years in Minot, North Dakota, where, there's not a fucking thing in Minot, North Dakota. And it was some of the best times of my entire life. So it's weird. Yeah. It's weird how it all works out.
It always will be. It always will be. It's you don't, there's that saying, if a soldier's not complaining, there's something, that's when there's something really wrong with them, they're always bitching about something. And it's like, and even with that, with going into the film industry and stuff, is like, or watching dramas and stuff about war movies, it's like, does it suck? Yeah, it sucks more than anything you'll ever experience in your life. It's terrible. But at the same time, you always make the best of whatever situation you're in, especially with the guys that you're in. So yeah, for every, all the firefights we got into and all the engagements that we undertook, there's also a side of that you don't see, where it's like people were, this would be a really long podcast if I started telling all those stories of just funny shit that went on with all the shit that was going on. We did some pretty pretty stupid shit. It was that's stupid but hilarious, and it was a constant. It's just it keeps you sane. It keeps you from just going into like being depressed or whatever, or like losing your humanity. And that's kind of the problem that you don't see in a lot of movies or series and stuff, is that there needs to be to ground it. It has to have some comedy in there because that makes it realistic.
That's real, right?
Can't constantly be like, what are we going to do? Oh my God, everything sucks. It sucks. Everything sucks. War sucks. You can't just do that the whole time. You have to show that other side of it. And that makes it realistic. And that's what rings true. So I do like that a lot when people can do that.
They can capture that realism. So you're in, just to kind of take us forward. So you were working at Universal Studios before you went in. So you had aspirations to go into the acting community early on. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. But that was, that was kind of my roundabout Steven Spielberg attempt of getting into the industry, kind of forcing myself onto the lot in some way, shape, or form. And I got a job cleaning the House of Blues amphitheater. Was my first job up there after concerts and shows, and nobody spoke any English, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't do my job correctly, even though it wasn't rocket science, but I couldn't talk to anybody because it's hard to explain. It was a midnight to 6 a.m. job or whatever, 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. So you're, dead walking out of there. And I quit that job without putting in my 2-week notice, which is, I didn't have the know-with-all then to put in a 2-week notice. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. So then that prohibited me from working for Universal for like a 6-month probation period for not putting in my 2 weeks. So on the way out of there, I saw the security guards. I'm like, hey, do you guys work for Universal? And they said, no, we're Pinkerton, but we're subcontracted to Universal. I'm like, oh, so that's how I can get in there and still work up here, because I lived right around the corner from there. I could walk to work and still go. So I went down there and I ended up getting a job right away with Pinkerton Security. It's now Securitas or whatever. So I don't know. I just had I wanted to be around it in some way, some facet, to maybe see an opening. And I used to go on, like, I think it was the set of Felicity that they filmed. I want to say it was that show Felicity at the time that I was working on it, that J.J. Abrams show. And they were at the lower lot where the Jurassic Park ride is. I had my own office some days when I was down there, because I'd be the only security guard down there, and I had to do my patrol, and then I'd go sit in my office. A lot of times I'd just read, but I'd go over and sneak over to their craft services cart and make sandwiches, and they just thought I was a security guard for the on set, or for the back lot. Nobody said anything. I even had the lady, I want to say it was the lady from, I don't remember the actress's name, but she was the one that played. I'm pretty sure it was Felicity. If they did shoot that on.
I don't know. Carrie something or other, right?
Was it Carrie Russell?
Yeah, she was Felicity, right?
Well, yeah, I could be getting the whole show wrong, but I want to say it was that. If they shot Felicity on Universal backlot, then that was definitely it. If it wasn't, it was another show. I had the lead actress showing me where the condiments were to make the sandwich. So I was like, okay, great, thanks. Doing that whole thing. And then September 11th happened. The way I got into the industry was my old next door neighbor when I was living down there is John Wayne's grandson, Brendan Wayne, and he actually does a lot of that show, The Mandalorian, now. That's on Disney Plus. So he does the doubling for Pedro Pascal. On that 4th episode, I guess Pedro had a prior obligation on a Broadway show or something that he was doing, so he wasn't even in that episode apparently, and Brendan did the whole thing, and they talk it through and get the movements, and he mimicked that. And he says it's an absolute blast to work on this. This is a fantastic show. But his wife at the time, or it's still his wife, not at the time, but at that time, his wife was working for Finn Hiller Casting, Sarah Finn, and Randy Hiller. They cast all the Marvel movies. You name it. If it's a big movie, they're casting it. Sarah and Randy, especially at the time, were casting, and Sarah's still casting all those. They're fantastic. So Sarah Arrington, Brendan Wayne's wife, worked as an assistant to the casting directors at the time. And I was pouring concrete up in Chico, California. This is after I got out of the military. After you got out.
This is like 2006, right?
This is 2006. Okay. Yes, exactly. And her job basically at the time, because Paul Haggis, who directed the movie In the Valley of Ella, and he'd just come off the Oscar for Crash for writing, and he wrote $1 Million Baby. So he's on he was hot as hell at the time. wanted to actually audition combat vets and service members for the roles of the 4 main soldiers in the movie. And I guess he wasn't getting what he wanted out of the people that were auditioning, so he wanted to give that a shot. And so her job at the time was driving around all over Los Angeles trying to round up vets and combat vets to go in and audition. And she goes, hey, wait, I know a guy that might like to do this. And so she called me up, and I was up in Northern California, and she called me up and says, hey, you want to audition for this movie? It's a Paul Haggis movie. Tommy Lee Jones and Charlize Theron are already attached to do it, and I'll send you the script and the sides, and you can choose between this character or this character that you want to audition for. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. What are sides? I have no idea what the hell you're talking about, but yeah. And also Brendan Wayne and Sarah used to send me packages when I was in Iraq too. They're just the nicest. Wow. They're the best people. You don't meet many people that nice. And
for anybody else who's outside the industry, this is not how auditions normally happen. Hey, here's your part. Pick it.
No, it wasn't. They didn't offer it to me. It was I get to pick between 2 roles that I wanted. One role that I wanted to audition for between the 2 roles, and I had 2. But yeah, it still doesn't happen that way. By the way. Especially, I didn't have an agent, didn't have a manager, none of that stuff, and so I was broke. I had only a little over $200 in my bank account, and I was trying to sell my truck that my grandpa gave me just to make rent that month. I was, trying to borrow money off people. I just didn't have anything, and my wife had just had my son. We were flat out, and construction, concrete work was dying down because it was around October. And so I go, I'll come down and audition for it. I'll see what I can do. This would be amazing. So I go over the lines and I'm doing it, and I'm telling her, and I read the script and I was like, well, there's a couple things in here that just won't work, film wise, because you have it as a Bradley and you can't look at, the driver and the BC can't. Well, I guess I proved that wrong in my earlier segment. They can't look at each other while the driver. But it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work in the movie. It wouldn't work the way it was written in the movie. And so so I went down and auditioned for it. And then they kept me afterwards for about a few hours. I had lunch with Sarah and Randy and Sarah, and they were picking my brain about military, just everything military. Like, what age would you be if you're an E6? What age would this person be? Like, what's this mean? What's this mean? I just sat down and laid it all out for them, and they were, it was great. And then they said, hey, can you come back on Monday? Because this was on a Friday. Can you come back on Monday and audition for the producers and the director? And I said, yeah, of course. So I had to change my flight. And then it left me with $10 in my bank account. God. So I called my boss and I was like, hey, you mind if I stay down a couple more days? He's like, yeah, it's dying down. You're fine. You're good. We're pretty much wrapped up anyway. And so I auditioned for him on that Monday for Paul and the producer. He gave me a few notes and then anything. And he was asking me questions. I brought in an Olympic medal that had Saddam's face imprinted on it that I got from his palace. I still have it here. And brought in a photo album and all this stuff that I had, all this shit that I brought back from Iraq, and they were flipping through it, and they were pretty intrigued, and as was I, and so that was it. Then I left, and I walk out, and I see James Franco walking in, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm not,
I just lost that one.
What am I doing here, And I go back up to Chico, and I go back to work, and a couple days go by and everyone's just telling me, just get it out of your head. You did what you can do. And then if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And I'm like, of course that's impossible to do because you're thinking about all the what ifs, what if I got this part in this movie? Like, what if I got to be a pretty big part in a Tommy Lee Jones, Charlize Theron, and then now Susan Sarandon was in it. It had all these big names in the movie and I didn't know any of them. And so I'm there at night and I get a phone call from Sarah Finn on the phone, the casting director. And she goes, hey, Jake. And I go, hey, Sarah, how you doing? And she goes, well, I just wanted to call and thank you for coming down and auditioning. You did a great job. You have a knack for it. I recommend you go, do a few classes and whatnot, and to really get it, get it locked in and stuff. But you have a real natural talent for it and stuff. But I just want to thank you for coming down because I know you were in a tight spot and everything. And but the odds of you getting this part were astronomical. They were just not in your favor. And I know you saw James walking in when you're walking out and all this stuff. So I'm like, yeah, no, I really appreciate you bringing me in and not letting me audition for it. I can tell my kids and grandkids that I auditioned for a major, Hollywood movie, and I just really appreciate it because they're so nice. They're such sweet people, and I just was appreciative of it. And she just goes, "You got the part."
Oh, man.
And I go, wow.
Sarah.
She goes, congratulations, Jake, you got the part.
Wow.
And then I hear Randy Hiller and my friend Sarah Harrington. They were on the other lines listening in, and they start going, congratulations. I'm like, are you serious? And I honestly couldn't believe it. I was like, are you serious? I'm like, I love you, Sarah. I love you, Randy.
Funny.
I love you, Sarah. I love you. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? And I run out of the room, and my wife's on the phone with her mom. I go, Stephanie, I got the part. And she drops the phone. She starts crying. I start crying like a little baby, and like I guess it becomes this whole thing. And it was just a really cool moment. And my dad had been flying down to LA at that time, and he was on his way down to go visit my aunt and uncle, who knew before I did that I got the part because they're also friends with Sarah and Brendan Wayne. And my dad, the whole time driving down there, is just going, God, I don't know what Jake's gonna do, man. He doesn't have any money. He's got 2 kids. I don't know. I'm worried for him, because my dad, he didn't have any money to lend me or anything like that. And so he's walking across that. If you guys have ever been to Burbank Airport, the 2 carousels for the luggage are outside. Yeah. And then there's a little crosswalk into the parking structure that you can go right where traffic is. And he's walking right across that. And it's always backed up traffic to the left right there like crazy. And he's walking across carrying his luggage. And my Uncle Kevin turns around to him behind him and he goes, oh, Jackie, by the way, Jake got that part. And my dad just stopped, dropped his luggage, and started crying.
That's so cool.
So
that's awesome.
It was a cool thing. And then it was off to the races. It was just a cool moment. It was just a huge high, and then it was off to the races after that. Then it was just like, oh shit, now I have to actually kind of pretend like I know what the hell I'm doing. I'm thrown into the mix. But the military helps you out with, especially in that situation, because when you join the military, and there's so many acronyms for every fucking thing you can think of, and different things, you have to pick up on it quick. And it's the same in the film industry. There's acronyms and sayings and language and stuff that's just foreign to you, but your brain is used to that from the military, and that did help a lot with just getting in there. And then it was hard. It was hard after that because I got that part, and then I went back to working on a ranch up in Northern California, and Franco actually hooked me up with his agent and manager at the time, and then so now I had an agent and a manager, which was great. And but I was still living in Northern California, and a few months later they called me like, yeah, you got to move down here. So I had to figure out a way to make the money to move down there. Yeah. And then it was a grind. It was just audition for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of auditions. I went on 7 auditions in one day once. I mean, I go out for roles that were, clearly not written for me. Right. Like, I had lines where you're, I'm auditioning and they're saying to my character I'm auditioning for, yeah, look at this 50 Cent looking motherfucker. Right. I'm like, yeah. And I call my agent, I'm like, I don't think this role's written for me, dude. And he's like, no, it says open to all ethnicities on the breakdown. And I'm like, that's more of a.
Did you read the script?
Yeah. Pretty sure they have something specific in mind, and it's not me.
You talk about the that military sense of humor, and then just going after you. So we were talking to Doyle, our mutual friend, before we came on. We're like, hey man, what kind of stuff we want to mention some inside knowledge. He goes, oh yeah, well he'd said to us he wanted to be an actor. And we told him he was too fucking ugly. It's never going to happen. Yeah,
and that's what we called him, fucking ugly.
Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff, like, God forbid you put out there, like, what your actual dream, like, deep down what you want to do. And because they're going to tell you there's not a freaking chance that that's going to happen. So
that was definitely the case. It was definitely a ball breaking thing because they all knew. And plus, I was also living in North Hollywood when I enlisted. So, living in Hollywood. Oh, hey, what's up, Hollywood?
Right.
That whole thing. So it's like, and that was before I even got into any facet of Hollywood at all. And so it was a ball busting ordeal for quite a bit, quite honestly. But, I'll say this. Once I started, getting into movies and television and doing that stuff, there was no group out there that was more supportive of it than those guys were. They're like, I've even had my buddy, I've had O'Neill. I've told Doyle he can do it too. I've had O'Neill on almost every show I've been on. He's been a featured extra in almost every show I've been on. They mentioned his name.
That's cool.
They mentioned. I threw his name out there. I don't know if I told you this. I was playing Call of Duty with him when I was filming the show Believe in New York. Right. And I had to get up early the next morning because the show was about to come out. And I had to go do, I think it was the Today Show with Johnny Sequoia, the little girl, and promote the movie. And he's like, oh, dude, give me a shout out. And I was like, okay, yeah, no problem, dude. and I'm wearing like a $6 pair of, faded glory fake Converse shoes. I just don't give a shit about that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'll give you a shout out. And I didn't realize it, but he had his family come to his house the next morning, like, Jake's gonna give me a shout out, because they always ask me military stuff too, and like I can easily segue his name into there somehow. And so the lady started doing the interview, and she wraps it up a lot quicker than I anticipated it happening, and it's on YouTube. And somebody put it through it up there, and maybe it was him, I don't know. And at the very end, she goes, okay, Believe airs Mondays at 9 o'clock or whatever, Sundays at 9 o'clock whenever it aired, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh shit, in my mind, racing 1,000 meters. Oh, I'm supposed to give O'Neill a shout out. And so she's in the middle of plugging when the show is, and I just go, David O'Neill.
That's great. She's like, what?
She kind of paused and looked at me like, and then kind of gave like a nervous laugh, and then kept going. I was just like, they were dying.
Oh, that's
laughing.
hilarious.
Well, because I never wore a suit, too. Like I did The View, and Susan Sarandon, I only met her one time, and she asked me to go on the with her, and I was in Toronto doing the release of In the Valley of Ella. And I got lent some suits from Armani to do the stuff, because I didn't own a suit. I hate wearing suits. If it involves me wearing a suit, I'm like,
Right.
Not really my thing.
Which is crazy. You ended up on a show featuring FBI agents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And the wardrobe people were like, yeah, he doesn't like wearing suits. If you're, it's mainly the ties. I don't like wearing ties and stuff. But anyway, I didn't know how to wear a suit. So I went to go do The View, and I don't know how to tie a tie, so I just didn't wear one on there. And I also didn't know that there's rules like that. Now I know, because I had about 15 messages from my Army buddies and my family members after I got off The View. It's sometimes, always, never.
That's right.
If you're gonna button your suit.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm on The View, and I'm thinking, this is, and I was so tired. I hadn't slept in like 2 days because we were doing the Toronto Film Festival. And I got a flight out that night, and I went straight to the studio. And here's Whoopi. All you have to keep in mind, I'm not used to being around celebrities or anything like that. So this is all kind of dream come true, surreal, all of these things going on all at once, and I'm trying to act normal in this chaos, in this crazy ass situation. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm cool. I got my arm up on the thing, but meanwhile, I didn't unbutton anything, so my whole suit jacket's like,
look like you got those 80s prom dress shoulders on.
Right.
Yeah, they might as well have been like padded Don Johnson. It was, and I thought I did a great job. I was like, yeah, I nailed it. And I get off, and I get all these messages. I'm like, oh, people are gonna they're calling me to tell me how great how I sounded articulate and all this stuff. And it's like, hey, dumb fuck, how about next time you unbutton your buttons? You look like a jackass. It's all of that for like 15 messages. It was pretty good.
Where would we be without our military friends?
No, nowhere.
Hey guys, I'm really happy I got on The View. Oh, go fuck yourself. You didn't unbutton your jacket the proper way.
Yeah, this is poop dick. Next time undo your buttons.
Signed poop dick.
Yeah, he pooped. Yeah. Did you tell them to go fuck themselves for me? Yeah. Yes, I did. That's the first. I led with that. That's exactly what I led with.
Yeah, right. Especially on The View.
It's like, there's no reprieve, but it's good because it's just good. It's good. I wouldn't change it.
So we don't want to keep you too long here. We know you got other stuff going on, but so you went from Believe, Quantico, and now you're finding your way back onto the big screen. Is that right? You just came back from filming something overseas?
Yeah, after Quantico, I took a break for I guess almost 2 years because I don't know. I missed 2 births of my kids. I missed my grandpa's funeral. I missed everything but Christmas. I've gone for so long. I wanted to really just buckle down and do family time, which is great. But then, when you don't have money coming in, you have a lot of money going out. You got to get back to work at some point. And I went and I got offered this role for this movie called Home with Kathy Bates, and Franca Potente directed. The lady from she was in the Born Identity movies.
Mm-hmm.
She was Matt Damon's love interest, and she was in Run Lola Run. And she was fantastic. It was a really, really, really cool experience because it was a lot different. There was freedom, and when you have freedom to do things and not be so married to every single word in the script and everything else, when you have the freedom to kind of react and react accordingly and normally and make it realistic, new things come out. And I honestly think it's the best thing by far that I've ever done. And working with Kathy Bates was just like, you know, there's a little nerve wracking at first because it'd been so long since I'd done anything in front of a camera, and then it all fell back into place pretty quickly. You know, like it's like the first day of high school when you go onto a new show or anything like that. No, you don't sleep. You're nervous as hell coming in. Right. You know, it's the first day, so all eyes are on you and seeing like, what's he going to do with this? You know, what are they going to do with this? And there's definitely that. And
you can hear your military buddies in the back of your head going, "Don't fuck this up."
Right.
Yeah. I actually had that's what my manager used to say before I'd go in for like studio and network tests. He would call me right before because he thought it was bad luck not to say it for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever got one that he called and was like, "Hey, don't fuck this up," and then he just hung up. I was like, "Fuck."
You're like, dude, I've been conditioned for that for years.
Yeah. Naturally, I'd blow it because it was this. You know, when you make it to that round, they don't do a lot of studio or network tests, I don't think anymore, but it's nerve-wracking. You're going into a room sometimes with 30 plus people that you've never met before except for the casting director. So there's your like, oh, you know, it's like mom to you, you know, your little safety blanket. And you don't know these people at all, and you got to go in there and act in front of them. I mean, I'll never be nervous during a job interview for the rest of my life. I don't think. I think that's a cakewalk. But yeah, it's an interesting experience. Needless to say, you know, the auditioning process is a different process altogether for anyone that's wondering what it's like. It's just, it's an extremely intense job interview with all of your competition sitting there and sometimes being able to hear you and see you through, you know, the door, hear what you're saying, you know, maybe out in the back, maybe, I don't know. It's just nerve-wracking, and you get better and better at it, I think, as time goes on, the more you do. And that's really how I cut my teeth acting was through auditioning, was just being fortunate enough to be able to get auditions because I had a real workhorse for an agent at the time that was, I mean, like I said, would send you out for anything and everything. It didn't matter if it was a C movie in Spain, I was going out for it. And so it was interesting. And then, but it's also different because you're not actually acting to anybody or anything. There's somebody there reading the lines, and you're not actually acting scenes out. You're standing in front of a camera, in front of a blank white wall. Yeah. And so it's hard to get that same thing, you know, that same deal as if you were actually there. So in a way, it's a little unfair because I don't know. I'm definitely not as good at auditioning. I'll tell you that, as I am actually being there and being able to do the things. So. It's pretty cool. And that being said, about cutting my teeth in auditioning, I also went to acting classes for, I don't know, probably 8. I probably went to 10 or so plus acting classes with Janet Alhante's acting school, and she just passed away the other day. So sending love to the Alhante family. She was fantastic. She was one of the originals, and just a cool lady. Taught me a ton. Really taught me how to, you know, get out there, because being in front of people and doing stuff when you're not used to it, especially after being in the military with a bunch of dudes, you open your mouth and it's
you're done.
Cut the legs out from it, and now you're expected to be vulnerable. Now you have to be vulnerable in front of like a bunch of strangers. Yeah,
it's so true. It's so true, but it's been good. So far it's been good in that. And Holmes, I saw a rough cut of it before all the sound and stuff had been dialed in when I went in to go do ADR and stuff, and it's gonna be there's some really good scenes in there. It's cool. Got to do a different character, because I don't always want to just do, you know, obviously
the typecast is like a military guy. Right?
Yeah, typecast, but all I really want to do, because I actually prefer to do those things. I love doing them because to me they're fun, and then also it's like you can as a vet you can go in there and really carry yourself and conduct yourself on screen in a realistic way that does justice to, you know, servicemen and women that are out there. And so that's nice. And like other actors, you know, may not know how to handle a weapon or something. So it's always nice to be there to, you know, show them the correct way so that they don't look like a soup sandwich, you know, on screen and make it look good. And so that's nice. It's really nice. So I mean, I'd like to do some more military stuff on screen. And it's funny because here I am, a combat vet, and I think it took me like 5 years before I ever even fired a round off, like a blank off on screen. I always got killed. I always get my ass kicked, and I always get killed. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I'm always getting fucked up in movies and shows and stuff. Like I can't win.
So speaking of which,
I feel like marriage prepared me for that.
Yeah, right.
Always getting my ass kicked, and then having kids.
Hey, we saw on Instagram you just had a surgery, right? Speaking of getting your ass
Yeah.
your back surgery.
Yeah, I just had a back surgery. I had a discectomy and a laminectomy.
Sucks.
So I messed my back up when I was in Iraq, which was fine for the deployment because it didn't affect me really. It was just, it was what it was. And, you're younger and you can bounce back from things quicker, but it just continued to go and my discs were degenerating. And then they were very easily herniated, I suppose, because they were already herniated. So I had 2 herniated discs, and then I've dealt with it for so long now. I mean, I've eaten meals for 2-3 days on my stomach on the floor because I couldn't get up. I've sneezed, fell down. I can't, brush my teeth. I had people come try to pick me up. They couldn't pick me up because it was just that nerve damage.
It's a whole nother level, right? I mean,
it's a whole different ball game. And I've just got sick of dealing with it. I was helping my neighbor do his take all of his grass out of his backyard and redo his backyard this summer. And I was pushing a wheelbarrow full of gravel, and the little bracket that's in front of the wheel that holds the 2 handles together in front of the wheel was loose, and it swung down and it caught on the tread of the tire, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. And I lifted the whole thing up, kind of canted. I just felt it go pop, and I couldn't even stand on my right leg because it was pinching my nerves so bad for months. Like when this last reunion in Florida, I was playing cornhole. I couldn't even stand on my leg, my right leg. It felt like a horse. Clydesdale just fucking kicked me down my ass all the way down to my knee. And so I got an epidural, and that didn't do anything for me at all. And I finally said, I'm getting surgery. That's it. And so they went in and drilled a hole in. And then my bone is such an old injury now that the bone was growing out over my herniated disc into my sciatic nerve. So they had to shave that down too. So now I'm feeling better, but my energy levels right now, I haven't worked out in 8 months. I haven't done anything. And it's just the hardest part about the recovery of the surgery is just because you have to sit, or you can't really do much but go for a little small walk for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and I'm just coming out of the tail end of that. And so I'll get up and clean the house, and I'll be like, I need to take a nap.
All right.
What's my BPM 160 right now? Like, I'm just like, it's terrible. It sucks because my energy levels are just absolute shit right now, and I need to slowly. And I've been going to a physical therapist here at St. Luke's in Idaho. And they've been great, and I've been just trying to get my levels back up because I'm not a guy that sits on his ass. I can't say that now. I'm definitely that guy that sits on his ass, but normally I'm very active. In the gym a lot, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, all that stuff. I love doing all that. So
I'd say take it slow. I went through the same thing, and I'm done sitting around. And 1 year later, the exact same surgery. So I've had I've had it twice now. Yeah. So I feel your pain, man. People say my back hurts. I'm like, when they would tell me that before, I'm like, maybe you should toughen up. Maybe you're not tough enough. And then, and then it happens and you're like, I passed out from it. So it's a whole nother level of discomfort, pain, and inability to move. So,
and you have to write a lot of apology letters saying like, I'm sorry I told you to toughen up.
Dude.
No, you want to hear a funny toughen up story? Really quick. I'm sorry to keep you.
No, we're here all day.
Time, bro.
Here's a good one. So David O'Neill comes out to visit me while I'm shooting Quantico, right? Because he's coming out because we're going to go to the UFC fight.
This is a buddy of yours from your platoon.
Yeah, this is David O'Neill from my platoon. The one he lives out in Florida, and he brings my buddy Seth Ludwig with him, who also lived next door to him in Florida. We were all in Iraq together, and he surprised me with bringing Seth, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I was so stoked that he made it." They came to Silver Cup Studios and came down and hung out with me for the day, and I was just stoked because we were all going to go to the UFC fight. It was UFC 205 when McGregor won his second belt.
Yeah,
and so we were going to that, and then then I'm walking out of Silver Cup Studios, and my buddy Atkinson pulls up. And he surprises me. Oh, wow. Dave coordinated the whole thing because it was also right around it was like right at Veterans Day. So we went on Veterans Day. We went to the 9/11 memorial. We went and did the Empire State Building. We went and did a whole day of stuff. Just us. So then we go out drinking that night, and I'm kind of fucked up. And we're walking back to my apartment, and this dude just fucking shoulder checks me, just bam, just like hard, like not like a normal shoulder check that you get in New York, like where someone brushes past and like, whatever, like that kind of thing. It was like a deliberate shoulder check, and I go, "You fucking kid!" I turn around, "You fucking kidding me?" And I turn around, and he turns around, and it's my platoon sergeant, Sergeant Molina.
That's awesome.
And so he surprised me too. I'm like, "Oh my god," because he's from New York, and so they wanted to go.
I got a bad back, Sergeant Molina.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah. So we're like, oh shit. Well, let's keep drinking then. Let's not go back to the apartment. Let's keep going out. So we went out and he wanted to go get the dirty water dogs from down at Times Square, just down the street from where my apartment is. So we go get these street hot dogs from the street vendors, and my buddy Dave gets one of those chicken shish kebab skewers on the wooden stick. And we're drunk and we're walking back. And I'm, stumbling, kind of not that bad, not to where we couldn't walk, but like we're definitely loose footed. And I feel this like bug on my ear, and so I like turned my head like that to smack it away. It was my buddy O'Neill taking the chicken kebab skewer and poking it in my ear to make it feel like a bug. So I turned my head, and that skewer went into my ear and it punctured the eardrum.
Jesus.
And so I immediately felt like my equilibrium just went like this. Completely just done, and I'm holding my ear, and there's like fluid coming out of my ear with blood and everything else, and I'm like, you motherfucker, dude! Oh my god, dude! I can barely. I'm going on, and the whole time I'm sitting there bitching about it. They're like, "Oh, suck it up! Don't be such a pussy about it. You're fucking fine.
It's just ear fluid."
Yeah. So this is the best part. So I keep walking, right, and I'm walking, and I'm staggering because my equilibrium. Yeah, and I'm bumping into this dude, and I thought it was one of my buddies, and I keep bumping into him. I'm not like bumping into him like barely. I'm like moving him over to the side, bumping into him a little bit, and like I didn't realize it because I'm sitting there with my head down, holding it like this, and then I hear my buddy go, "Dude, stop bumping into that guy." And I'm like, "Oh," and I look kind of down and realize he wasn't one of my guys, and so I'm like, "Sorry, man, this fucking sorry, just whatever." And then I keep walking, and I bump into him again, and they're like, "Dude, stop!" And I'm like, my buddies are telling me this. And I'm like, dude, I'm fucking sorry. This dude punctured my eardrum, and I can't fucking walk straight. I have blood coming out of my ears, and I'm trying to just walk in a straight line. And I look up at him. He's 6'8". He's huge. And his girlfriend's next to him, right? And I look at him like, where do I know this guy from? Where do I know this guy? I look over at his girlfriend. At the time, it was his girlfriend. Now they're married. It was Ronda Rousey and Travis Brown.
No fucking way.
I swear to God,
you
that's
should
who
have
it was.
And they broke your other eardrum.
My luck, I'm running into fucking
Travis
6'8",
professional
heavyweight
fighter.
Travis Brown in New York. Of all of the 15 million people in New York, that's the one I'm bumping into. But he was so chill about it. He was just like, yeah, no, dude, like, I hope you're okay, man. That sucks. Like, don't worry, don't even worry about it. He was totally chill. And
Rhonda, handle my business.
Yeah, right.
And her friend recognized me from Quantico that she was with, and so we all got pictures with each other. She just asked, like, don't say that you saw me here because I have a big announcement to make and all that stuff. So they were really chill and really cool about it. And
you're in the picture leaning over off to the side?
Yeah.
Fluid coming from your ear.
I was like, well, now that I know that I can lean kick your ass,
Yeah.
No, it was of all things though. It was pretty funny, and that was a great fight night. I mean, I'm going to the Cerrone McGregor fight.
It's huge. It's gonna be huge
coming up. So that'll be. I'm really looking. O'Neill and I are going to that too.
Cool.
And the wives, we're all going to that. So I'm crazy excited. I've been to some good UFC fights. Every fight that I've been to has been an epic night. I went to GSP's last fight when all three belts changed hands. I was there. I was at the McGregor winning the second belt. I was at when TJ Dillashaw beat Renan Barão the first time.
Yep.
We were at that fight in Vegas. That was the same night that like the Floyd Mayweather and that rapper dude got into it in front of Fatburger. We were actually there when it happened.
Nice.
It was good stuff, man. It's been eventful. So hopefully some crazy shit happens at this McGregor fight.
It's got to.
Yeah.
I hope so.
If O'Neill's there, it's coming. O'Neill brings he brings good vibes of shenanigans everywhere he goes.
Oh, it's insane, especially in New York there at the Garden for the first time it's ever been the UFC at the Garden. Dude, the Irish, God bless them. They're good people. There's some loyal fans out there. I loved it. It was fantastic, man. They're good. It was great. Good fight night.
Hey, cool. Jake, man, it's we really appreciate your time, brother. It's been awesome getting to talk about your journey from the military into such a unique environment in the acting world, man. We appreciate you sharing your time, sharing your stories with us.
Yeah, man. It was
my pleasure, and thanks for having me on. And you have to tell Doyle I said what's up for me, and if he needs a good deal on a bus or anything like that to transport those kids around in,
his 19 kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Jake, man, we appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing, and we'll try and catch up with you maybe another time.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to come back on, man. It was good talking to you guys, and God bless you.
Cool. That's it from us here at the Kill Cliff Podcast. Josh and John from Entrepreneurs Comedy. We want to say thanks a lot to Jake McLaughlin for sitting down. We really enjoyed it. Fascinating guy. Hey, everybody, make sure you guys download this, subscribe, like, share, whatever you're going to do. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. So that's it.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.